There's just nothing like being on a river. I've boated on probably 400 different rivers across the country. I just love rivers, and I've been privileged to spend a lifetime getting to know them all over the United States. And this kind of recreational interest became a much bigger thing for me. And I began to ask the questions about what's happening to these places. And all along the way, there was this thing called the Wild and Scenic Rivers system. It represents one of the great successful movements to protect the environment of America for future generations. This is beyond logic or sense or reason. I just love canoes. For years and years, I had only 2 boats, and 2 is enough. By now, I have quite a fleet, and they're all specialists, is why they're all here. I just did a 20-day trip on the Yellowstone River in that boat for 520 miles. I've gone on a 180-mile trip on the Willamette with this. Then there are more. These are actually my 2 favorite boats. These are both Mad River MEs. I can put in 80 pounds of gear, 100 pounds of gear, and still paddle really beautiful rapids in this boat. Well, at an early age, I got that infusion of river magic. I really loved rivers, and then I really began to love traveling on rivers. Through writing and then through photography, I've been able to really dedicate my career in trying to communicate to others the special value of these places. Here's the middle fork of the Flathead, where the idea for the National Wild and Scenic River was conceived by Frank and John Craighead, famous wildlife biologists, fought a dam that was to be built right there. You know, I sometimes think of myself as a river guide for the whole country. Here's the upper North Fork Umpqua, the North Fork of the Middle Fork of the Willamette, one of the great little rapids on it, the Owyhee, the great river of southeastern Oregon. So I love to tell the stories of these rivers and of the people who have worked protecting them. I love to show the beauty of them with my photography, to really bring home to people how special, how important, how essential these places are. There are important and beautiful rivers all over our country. But here in Oregon, and particularly in southwestern Oregon, the rivers are truly extraordinary. I mean, one after another, we have these amazing streams along the Pacific coast. It's really an unusual situation in that we have so many fabulous, wonderful wild rivers left here in this part of the country. Rivers all over our country are beautiful, and they're important, and they're essential to all of life. And the very best of these, many of the very best, have been protected under the National Wild and Scenic Rivers Act of 1968. Well, this is the river vehicle. I usually could carry 2 canoes on top, an Ann's kayak, the raft is in the back, so we're ready for any river that we encounter. These are our oars for our raft, and here we have a number of canoe paddles up sitting on top of them. These are books about the rivers, some of them about rivers where we're going, the Oregon rivers where I've been. So we have nearly 300 major national wild and scenic rivers designated all over the country, from Puerto Rico to Alaska. And the van allows me to get around to most of those. You know, it's just the perfect vehicle for seeing this magnificent system of protected rivers. There's just nothing like being on a river. You hear that bubbly flow, and you see the beauty all around you, and the fish are jumping, and deer are coming down to drink, and you just think, I'm in paradise. This is the way it ought to be. Rivers are really the lifelines. They connect our landscapes together. They're corridors for wildlife to travel on. They, of course, are the home of fish, which need whole lengths of rivers to travel up and down for their life cycles. And from headwaters to the sea, they take us to everything that there is about this landscape. And by traveling along that length, we can become aware of just how amazing and how connected and how important it all is. For years, this vision of rivers as natural systems was not the dominant paradigm in our society. Right here is where I think the dam site was, between this wall and that wall. Here is a place, you can just see it, these rock walls right here. There would have been a dam right here. The water would have been hundreds of feet deep instead of this amazing, free-flowing, wonderful river that we have. And so I love to come to these places and celebrate the work that people did before us, celebrate the foresight that Congress had in designating this river as wild and scenic, because what we have here simply would not exist today if they had not acted. The challenge of protecting our rivers, which is spelled out in the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, is not to simply protect a little square of real estate that is a park or a particular stand of forest. It expands that goal beyond that to say we need to protect the life systems that tie these landscapes together. The Wild and Scenic Rivers Act marked a dramatic change in national policy about our rivers, and really the first action worldwide that recognized that rivers deserve such protection. So right here from the Elk River south, the whole way through the Eel in California, we have the greatest concentration of designated national wild and scenic rivers anywhere. There's nothing like that in the rest of the country. Ann and I are just really lucky in having a national wild and scenic river in our backyards. So I'm going to throw this one up and carry it down.
I'll get the paddle.
Okay, great. We are really, really lucky, Ann and I, in that we get to do these things together.
You know, there's nothing that either one of us would probably want to do more than to spend a day on a river, either on a boat or hiking or doing photography, because it really does take us out to look for beauty, to find that magic of flowing water. We are incredibly fortunate that we share that passion, and it totally makes sense that Tim and I ended up living in southwestern Oregon, because we have an amazing collection of wild and scenic rivers down here, which means they're not dammed, they're stunningly beautiful, they have opportunities for boating and hiking and fishing. I feel really proud of that quality of our region, and I know so many people in our communities love our rivers too.
So for each of our designated wild and scenic rivers, an agency is responsible for the care of that stream. Two of them, and the two that administer most of the wild and scenic rivers, are the U.S. Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management. And it's their responsibility to steward this place well, to take care of it for us and for all the generations to come. The Rogue is a very special place. It was one of the initial 8 rivers designated in the National Wild and Scenic Rivers system. I love floating. Just that magical feeling of flying over the riverbed.
I know people who've been running rivers here for a really long time, and they'll say, it's still the way it was. I think there is a sense that we have to take care of it so that we can all enjoy it. I mean, it's been so meaningful to me in my life to be able to come and enjoy rivers like this. It's hard to put words to it, but I feel so grateful to people who came before us, who figured this out and did all the hard work of protecting these places so that we can enjoy them. It makes me feel kind of patriotic because it's something that's so special.
Here we are 50 years after the passage of this Wild and Scenic Rivers Act to reflect on just how fortunate we all are that there were courageous people 50 years ago to address the question, how do we better protect rivers?
It's just been such a great thing that previous generations have passed along to us, and so I'm really hopeful that if we can keep it up, keep stewarding these rivers, we will pass on to the next generation some extraordinary treasures.